With the potential arrival of a Nintendo Switch 2 somewhere out on the horizon, the Nintendo Switch already has an amazing lineup of games available, and with only 25 slots to fill, there are tons of amazing recent games that didn't float to the top. But that doesn't mean we don't think they're awesome too. So without further ado, these are our picks for the 25 best Nintendo Switch games. While many hit Nintendo games like Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and Metroid Dread revel in colourful bombast and action, Captain Toad showcases the smaller, whimsical side of Nintendo's creativity. Weighed down by a backpack as big as he is, Captain Toad navigates diorama-like puzzle boxes in search of treasure. Each little level bursts with detail, secret corners, invisible secrets, clever mechanisms all wait for anyone patient enough to fiddle with a toy long enough to find them. And a toy is just what Captain Toad feels like, harkening back to Nintendo's old days as a playing card company. Its levels take on a tactile component, Rubik's Cube-like, needing to be rotated, poked at, and scoured completely before they give up their last secrets. Captain Toad's adventures were some of the best the Wii U had to offer, and are fully worthy of the port from the Wii U to Switch, which also adds 18 new levels and co-op multiplayer. 10 years from its first release, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker remains one of the best games on not one, but two Nintendo consoles. Fire Emblem Engage prioritizes and polishes the series' iconic tactical combat with UI improvements, the return of the tactical weapon triangle, and the introduction of the titular Engage mechanic, which allows your units to temporarily fuse with heroes from Fire Emblem's past, from Marth and Roy to many more.
I am known as Marth. Emblem Marth, to be clear.
These legendary heroes grant your units access to flashy, powerful skills, weapons, and attacks, and play into Engage's classic tale of good versus evil. It's an excellent entry in the 30-year-old franchise that incorporates Fire Emblem's rich history without being prohibitive to series newcomers. There's something about Slay the Spire's balance of strategy and randomness that makes it an endlessly replayable puzzle. Assembling that perfect combo of synergistic cards can feel incredible, but there's also joy in scraping your way to victory despite the odds never quite falling in your favor. With that potent package on the Switch's mobile platform, with some fairly decent touch control options we might add, it's a miracle we ever stopped playing it. Stardew Valley is a wonderfully open-ended farming sim. You'll forge your own country path with fishing, fighting, farming, and falling in love. Additionally, being able to take advantage of the Switch's sleep mode helps take some of the pressure off not being able to save in the middle of a day, even if a few other bugs in the port are still waiting to be squashed here. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of the biggest and best JRPGs available on the Switch. Its fantastical world, endearing characters, and ultimately satisfying story makes this 150-hour epic journey well worth taking. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 also features the series' best side quests and most varied combat to date, thanks to its new class-swapping mechanic. Celeste is a surprise masterpiece. Its 2D platforming is some of the best and toughest since Super Meat Boy, with levels that are as challenging to figure out as they are satisfying to complete. But the greatest triumph of Celeste is that its best-in-class jumping and dashing is blended beautifully with an important and sincere story, and an incredible soundtrack that makes it a genuinely emotional game, even when your feet are firmly planted on the ground. With its charming toyetic visual style and bizarrely dark undertones, the vast island of Koholint in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening has never looked better than it does on Nintendo Switch. Link's shipwrecked adventure on a mysterious island rife with eccentric characters and sprawling dungeons has always been one of the stranger Zelda stories, and this remake allows new audiences and aging fans alike to appreciate it on a modern system. It modernizes the classic beloved Zelda game with a shiny new coat of paint, some excellent quality of life improvements, and loads more hidden collectibles. But ultimately, its greatest accomplishment is retaining the weird, haunting, beautiful feeling of the original Game Boy game. Platinum Games makes some of the best action games around. That much is all but indisputable. Its approach is unique, and as a result, The Switch-exclusive Astral Chain is truly one of a kind in that you're simultaneously controlling not just your character, but also a living weapon tethered to them known as a Legion. This creates a thrilling style of combat that looks spectacular and feels incredible to play around with. Astral Chain is challenging, rewarding, is absolutely jam-packed with depth in its combat systems, and has an engaging story as well, with clear inspiration from anime classics such as Neon Genesis Evangelion, Ghost in the Shell, and Appleseed, among others.
So fight for a paradise, fight for our life. So keep holding on until we break the spell.
Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury offers two fantastic Mario experiences that complement each other brilliantly. 3D World landed on the Wii U and gave fans a unique blend of 2D and 3D platforming, all of which could optionally be played with up to 4 players in a setup that worked better than the new Super Mario series accomplished. Inventive and just plain fun. It was too good of a game to keep stranded on the Wii U forever, and its port to Switch came with bonus online co-op capabilities, a photo mode feature, and more. But the biggest draw for fans who had already played 3D World was Bowser's Fury, a brand new, open world experience that lasts roughly 3 to 6 hours. Though only a small taste by series standards, this free-form experiment stands as a proof of concept that an open-world Mario game can be just as creative, exhilarating, and enjoyable as what we've seen in the franchise thus far. If this is the direction the next mainline Mario goes, it's an exciting future indeed. The fine-tuning of Splatoon 3's team-based multiplayer makes for the series' best online modes to date, while the introduction of a more fleshed-out single-player campaign elevates it to one of the best overall games available on Switch. The multiplayer is an improvement on Splatoon's established formula thanks to new weapons, enemies, customization options, and an improved lobby system. The return of the Mama Aliens campaign presents 70 cleverly designed missions, 5 memorable boss fights, and a soundtrack oozing with style. Other games on this list represent huge innovations and genre shakeups, but Dragon Quest XI-S earns its spot because of how classic it feels. This RPG plays like an ode to the 1990s era, and it does a fantastic job at taking the classic turn-based format and freshening it up for a modern audience. All the elements you would expect from a tribute like this are here: exciting and balanced combat, a nostalgic tale of good against evil, a lovable band of heroes, and a vibrant world to explore. Each component of Dragon Quest XI-S feels meticulously designed and polished, and it's obvious that so much love and care went into crafting this adventure for Dragon Quest's 30th anniversary. Plus, the Switch version is truly definitive, with additional story content, fully orchestrated music, and the option to swap back and forth between modern 3D graphics and SNES-inspired top-down pixel art. Luigi's Mansion 3 is essentially a Franken-Luigi-Stein's monster of the first 2 games, a mashup of both that creates the perfect Luigi's Mansion experience. Charming, clever, and absolutely gorgeous to look at. Luigi's Mansion is 17 levels of pure ghost hunting joy. Working your way through each of the haunted hotels might not be extremely challenging, but the creative boss fights and deviously hidden collectibles will keep you busy for a dozen hours or more. The excitement of getting to a new level just to see its theme is well worth the price of admission. Plus, the game opens with Toad driving a bus. Priceless. Fire Emblem Three Houses takes the series to new heights, deftly blending grueling battles with an expansive social hub that allows for near limitless customization as you recruit, train, and bond with the memorable characters on your team. Its unique take on a 3-pronged story ensures that no matter which house you choose, the engrossing plot that unfolds always leaves enough mystery to make multiple playthroughs incredibly hard to resist. Released on the doorstep of a global pandemic, Animal Crossing New Horizons provided a much-needed escape for many. Routine and discovery play equally important roles as you plan the perfect layout for your island. Make friends, or enemies, with all of your villagers, and invite your friends to your own little utopia to trade items and swap secrets. It's brilliant in its simplicity and masterful in the way it encourages players to keep up with chores, redecorate and/or reshape entire plots of land, or burn dozens of hours trying to catch catch rare fish and find every last seasonal item. It certainly helps that all of the writing is supremely funny and that hundreds of hours in, you're still able to chuckle at a random comment or find genuine inspiration in the places you'd least expect. Taking a cue from many of Nintendo's Switch editions of their long-running franchises, Animal Crossing New Horizons does little to completely reinvent the franchise, but it makes a great series even more accessible, more exciting, and more wonderful than it has ever been. A masterclass in game design, Metroid Prime is now playable on Switch with a fresh coat of paint and much needed improvement to its 20-year-old control scheme. As Samus, players follow a distress signal to a space pirate frigate where Nintendo's iconic bounty hunter sets off on a solitary adventure equipped with a growing arsenal of combat and platforming abilities. Metroid Prime Remastered is moody, surprising, inventive, and as IGN reviewer Sam Claiborne wrote, one of the best first-person shooters ever made, full stop. Pikmin 4 and its charming creatures, including the adorable new pup, Otachi, stick the landing in the strategy puzzle series' Switch debut. It comes with plenty of new features and upgrades that improve the tried and true formula of the first 3 games, including the largest number of enemies to battle, treasures to collect, and awesome post-game content. It does all of this without its adorable gameplay becoming overcomplicated, making it an ideal starting point to jump in if you've never played before. But it's also filled with callbacks to the earlier games for longtime fans. Super Mario Bros. Wonder proves Nintendo can still hang with the best of them in the 2D platformer category. After nearly 2 decades of relatively bland new Super Mario games, Nintendo confidently returned to Mario's roots in Wonder, which lives up to its subtitle thanks to its gorgeously fresh art style, huge amounts of clever new enemy types, and inventive Wonder flower mechanics that constantly surprise and delight by completely turning everything on its head in the middle of a level. Wonder's creativity and imagination is on full blast from start to finish, resulting in a modern 2D classic that feels like the first worthy heir to Nintendo's legendary Mario 3 and Mario World. Oh, and Elephant Mario is a pure work of art too. Roguelikes don't always appeal to everyone, but Hades has somehow found a way to win over even those with a distaste for them. Fighting your way out of the Greek underworld is a ruthless and challenging affair, but every failure is rewarded in a way that somehow makes them exciting in their own right. Instead of just notching up each loss and moving on to the next, the movements between each run pushes Hades' excellent storytelling to the forefront, giving you opportunities to learn more about its charming characters and grow close to them, as well as improve the Prince of the Underworld's abilities and weapons. It's that meaningful mix of progression and infinitely repeatable escape attempts, coupled with genuinely fantastic writing, art, and action, that makes Hades as delectable as Ambrosia itself. Hollow Knight is one of the best modern Metroidvanias available, using all of the pieces that make the genre so great in the first place without feeling derivative of anything that came before it. The expertly crafted map that is the Kingdom of Hallow Nest has an absurd amount of paths to explore, bosses to fight, and secrets to uncover, wrapped up in a somber yet beautifully drawn expressive art style that gives the adorable bug people their own lives and stories. But what you get out of it will be a reward worth far more than you put in. Metroid Dread has become a near mythic game, a fabled DS entry that never saw the light of day by the time it was announced at E3 2021 as a Switch game. With nearly 20 years having passed since the last new 2D Metroid, expectations were sky high. Fortunately for fans, Dread met, and in many cases surpassed, expectations for a modern 2D Metroid game could accomplish. It's easily the smoothest game in the series, running at a silky 60 FPS, with high production values, incredible game design that gently guides the player through ZDR's labyrinth-like corridors, and the most unflinching version of Samus we've seen yet. Mercury's Stream hit Metroid Dread out of the stratosphere and brought the franchise back into Nintendo's orbit. Mario Kart 8's encore on Nintendo Switch didn't just keep the online community alive and added returning favorites like Balloon Battle and Bob-omb Blast, but we also got a brand new Cops and Robbers team mode with Renegade Roundup, all of the great DLC stages, and even more guests from the Splatoon universe. It's not a new game, but one so good it deserved to reach a bigger audience on Switch right away. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is exactly what its name implies. It's the ultimate incarnation of Nintendo's now 20-year-old brawler series. It's a celebration of Smash Bros. As a whole, filled with more fighters and levels than ever before, and packed to the gills with over 1,000 characters from all across gaming. Everyone is here. And it's made Ultimate the definitive Smash Bros. Game for a long time to come. Add a 20+ hour single-player mode with full-on boss fights and huge world maps, it's easy to get lost in Ultimate Super Smash Bros. Ultimate had a lot to live up to with that name, but it's undoubtedly done just that. A masterclass in 3D platforming, Super Mario Odyssey seamlessly blends the best elements from nearly every Mario game with an entire portfolio of new gameplay mechanics to create something both nostalgic and courageous. New players will adore stomping through the vivid and vast new worlds, while seasoned veterans will stick around after the credits to unlock the hundreds of challenges that await their skill and dexterity. To put it succinctly, Super Mario Odyssey is pure, sublime joy and one of the best Super Mario games ever made. When Nintendo released Breath of the Wild in 2017, it revolutionized not just Zelda games, but open-world action games at large. The number of Breath of the Wild imitators from all kinds of different developers post-2017 were numerous. 7 years since it released, Breath of the Wild is still an essential Switch game. Exploring every corner of Hyrule still feels as fresh now as it did all those years ago. And while Tears of the Kingdom builds on its foundations in almost every way, there's a simplicity about Breath of the Wild that means it serves as the perfect companion to its sequel. And talking about sequels, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is, hands down, the best game available on Nintendo Switch. Tears of the Kingdom is so good that to some, it made our previous #1 Switch game, Breath of the Wild, obsolete. As IGN's reviewer Tom Marks wrote, Breath of the Wild felt far from unfinished, but, inconceivably, Tears of the Kingdom has somehow made it feel like a first draft. Tears of the Kingdom expands Breath of the Wild's Hyrule with a larger scale, greater depth, and a more captivating story. It builds on Breath of the Wild's gameplay with better dungeons, more creative weapon crafting, and incredibly robust building mechanics. It's somehow a major improvement on what came before, and what came before was IGN's pick for the best game of all time. If you own a Switch and you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, you're missing out on one of the most joyous gaming experiences ever made. For more videos like this one, make sure to watch our top 100 video games of all time video or our best reviewed games of 2023.